Right, I just want to carry on from the last video at which we discussed Centrelink recipients and what a benefit actually is to the beneficiary of the United Kingdom of Australia. When we look at an administrator government, it's spending our money to keep us in debt. And when you look at Centrelink, all these people that are in hardship and have to register with Centrelink because some of them have children, some are disabled, some live in cars, some have a really hard time living in this country on Centrelink. And here you have a government, an administrative government that we know to be a bankruptcy administrator, openly and widely spending money on controlling people on Centrelink, which is costing all Australians money while we're in a bankruptcy. So it goes without saying that if a country that is under administration and its administrator is continually spending those people's money to keep them in debt, it's clear that a power structure exists where this government won't allow you to get out of the bankruptcy. So it's continuing you down the path of debt. So now the government wants to look at an Inju card and expand this program across Australia, and that costs $12,000 per recipient. Now each recipient on Centrelink doesn't get more than $8,000 a year. And you're implementing a scheme that costs more than paying Centrelink recipients. And now you add on top of that the fact that you want to drug test these Centrelink recipients. I ask you very clearly, how much is that going to cost Australians? Because you've already now spent more on Inju than you have on the recipients. And then you add to the fact that these recipients no longer go to a government agency. They are now nannied by job networks who give them nothing. Like, you talk to all the people on Centrelink Job Newstart and they will tell you that all these job networks do is nanny them. As long as you fulfill the little obligations that the tender that this job network has agreed to, you'll get paid. So a job network is conscription because you've been asked to jump through all of these hoops to get a payment. And every fortnight you're threatened that your payment might be removed because you failed the conscription. So Jackie Lambie, I'd like you to address costs because this is a bankruptcy administration and you have no right as an administrator to put us in more debt. That's the bottom line. So a Centrelink recipient gets $670 a fortnight, but on the other side of the fence, you're spending $12,000 for an Inju card, minimum of $40 a day for a job network member, and now you pose to have a drug test put in place, which is going to cost about what, $200 a drug test? How many Centrelink recipients? So it's okay for you to spend money controlling Centrelink recipients because you don't want people to realise it's their beneficial interest. That's okay to you. But if we ask you to raise Newstart by, say, $70, you'll say no. You'll spend all the money controlling these people, but you won't increase their standard of living, which is already below the poverty line. That's pretty sad, Jackie Lambie. And it's pretty sad given that you've been given every opportunity to respond and you've gone silent and then towed the party line to attack those on welfare who, as my previous video demonstrates, are only taking their beneficial interest from their estate as beneficiaries. So you have a little bit of a problem here, Jackie, in that you're wasting our money, and that keeps us in this bankruptcy. If you stopped spending all this money and helped people out of the poverty line, they might be able to find jobs easier, given that you expect them to jump on public transport and use cars to travel to job interviews and do all of these things for Job Network members. What you've done is make them all obligated to the Job Network member and not their own lives. They feel trapped. So, what I'd like all Australians to think about is the fact that this is an administration government under a bankruptcy in receivership, and it is using its ability to control your government to keep you in further debt. And because we use that reserve currency, your children are going to bear this debt on their shoulders. Their grandchildren are going to bear this debt on their shoulders because you keep passing this down to the next generation. And your country got worse because of it. So the bottom line here, really, is you are watching a government control you, keep you under the poverty line, and spend more money on its tenders to control you than it does give you. So what does that tell you about this government's agenda? It has no interest in you. It has every interest in taking full control of you, especially if you're not performing for their tax department. And that's another issue we can go into later, related to the Reserve Bank currency. My main issue right now is that Australians don't understand or comprehend they have a beneficial interest in the United Kingdom of Australia. And this Australian government is stealing it from you. Paying indue to run a system is theft, because we don't need that system. They want that system for control. They want to drug test you for control. It's already disgusting enough that they are spending $500 to $1,000 a fortnight just so a Job Network member can keep tabs on a job seeker, because they closed the Commonwealth Employment Services and the Department of Social Security. And now I turn my attention to you, Christian Porter. Who are you? You were the Human Services Minister. You were trained to be that slave cattle man. You know your position. You know what a human is and how it doesn't relate to mankind. You know that a human is a bastard child with no right of inheritance to the kingdom. So again, Christian Porter, where's your rule of law? What gives you the right to enslave people in this kingdom? Right? International treaty protects the right of the family. And by putting everybody in an impoverished position, you're destroying the family. By making them obligated to all these things because you want to enslave them, you're destroying the family. And we will go into the Family Law Act 1975 later. But right now, Jackie, you brought conscription into the Parliament. And you did it at the expense of all Australians, because the government wants to control all Australians. So when are you going to stop spending money on control mechanisms and better the lives of Australians?